Alton, proud to be named #1 by CareChex for medical excellence and overall hospital care in the Northwest Georgia and Chattanooga region. And I'm Swargene 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ward on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
You know, all week long we yap and yap and yap and give our opinions and our views and our ideas. And we don't often ask you to share your opinions, views, and ideas. Talk show hosts spend hours preparing for what they have to say, and a lot of times the listener is the one that's left on the sideline. Well, this show on Friday is called Best Shot, and this gives you a chance, I know you're shocked here, to actually call in and hit us with your best shot. This is your opportunity to talk about anything you want to talk about. Now, only 0.1% of anyone listening to a radio station ever calls. With talk radio, it's even smaller than that. People get intimidated, thinking in terms of, well, they're going to yell at me, and maybe my opinion is stupid. And you're right. I may yell at you, and your opinion may be stupid. But everyone has a right to their stupid opinion, even me. So the great thing about talk radio is you get to express yourself. You are on stage. No one can stop you until we hit the off button. The number, 423-800-8949. It's not a toll-free number, but listen, do you pay for anything with tolls? No. Everything's toll-free now. 800-8949. 800-8949. I want you to express yourself on what we tweeted throughout the week. So what you need to do is go onto our Twitter site. If you don't have a Twitter account, what have you been doing? I mean, especially if you're a conservative. You know, this is one of the greatest tools for conservative, Twitter, where we get to share thoughts and ideas. So if you don't have a Twitter account, it takes you about 2 minutes, doesn't cost anything, just do it. So you'll have the opportunity to see our 6,036 tweets in about 2.5 years. So we created this account just before we created Hot News Talk Radio, which is, I believe, in November of 13. Or was it 14? 14, that would be 2 years. So 14. And since then, I've tweeted 6,036 times. Every single one of those tweets, I tweeted. So if you don't like it, this gives us, you and I, a chance to talk about it. And you can give me your best shot. Twitter, Hot News Talk Radio. That's where you want to go. Twitter, Hot News Talk Radio. Or if you prefer, you get to talk about something in the news. Now, a lot of our tweets are promoting our shows, so on and so forth. But let's talk about some of the tweets this week that you may or may not like. And here's one of our tweets. For first time, I am glad that Obama beat Nitwit Mitt. I can't stand Obama. However, at least with Obama, we know what he is, a Marxist. Now, you may or may not like that, and you have the opportunity to retort at 800-8949 because we know Obama is a Marxist. I try never to say anything that isn't true. Now, sometimes, radio people exaggerate, but we can exaggerate within the truth. Appearing that New World Order controls Nitwit Mitt. Now, why do they say that? Because, I came into this with not really being ambivalent towards Donald Trump. And now that I know everyone hates him, I like him. It tells me that the system is running scared. Trump embodies something that these people don't have, which is entrepreneurism, the will to kill to win. Cruz, even though he and I may agree with each other more philosophically, is a weenie. Rubio is unthinkable. He's just a little twerp. He's a little twerp. He's a little, what they called on ships, pole boys. They used him for, So Rubio is just a little pole boy. He's a little phony. But Republicans like that little pole boy because they can manipulate and control him. He claims to be, for tough immigration standards. And look at the bill he's trying to pass. He's a big phony. Republicans in a sense, you're in trouble. Your party is about to split. I laugh when I hear people like Nitwit Mitt and the rest of these rhinos discuss the reason why Republicans aren't making it is because we're not reaching the women, we're not reaching the blacks, we're not reaching the Hispanics. You know what? Republicans, you control the House and the Senate. What are you talking about? The American people are tired of being fooled. It's over. It is over. There is nothing, I believe, and I've been in politics, commenting on it, discussing it, sometimes directly involved with, I've been to many CPAC conventions in the 70s, attempting to get Ronald Reagan elected. They can't stop this. They can't stop this train. And people like that little pansy, Lindsay, is going to be eating his words. This is about the control over trillions of dollars in this economy, controlling trillions and trillions of dollars. Now, for those on the left, we'll call it the left and the Democrats and the liberals, you want something for nothing. You're basically criminal thieves. You want to elect people like Sanders and Hillary, Bill, even Bush, who was a liberal, and Obama to steal from one and give to another, because governments can't give you anything. They can only transfer wealth from those who produce it to those that don't. So you have those on the left that want to steal money from the workers, like those who collect Social Security and other welfare programs from the state. And then those on the right, the far right, I call them corporate communists, that work with the government to empower themselves and their corporation through government force, whether it's a franchise or a special grant or privilege, or hiring individuals that came here illegally to pay lower wages. And that's a big part of the right. So the government benefits those on the far right, and I hate to use the term far right. I would call it the corporate communists, the internationalists, and the government benefits those on the left. Well, the majority of America is in the middle, just trying to make ends meet, one paycheck away from disaster. And those Americans, some are Democrats, some are independents, most are Republicans, are tired of it. They were promised by the Republican Party, the big phonies, that if you elect us, Obamacare is gone. Well, Obamacare is not gone, primarily because the insurance industry that controls this nation, the insurance regulators, want it. They benefit from it. So the Affordable Care Act, and that's what they call it, is still in place, where the Republicans can actually, if they wanted to, because they have the power of the purse, get rid of it. But they don't want to get rid of it. They love it. They're big lying phonies. Nitwit Mitt is a big lying phony. Rubio's a lying phony. Cruz is a lying phony. Yeah, could Trump be a lying phony? He could. He could be. But he's got the biggest mouth in the room. The fact that he self-funds impresses me. The fact that he normally does what he says he's going to do, and it's the only guy running that actually creates jobs and makes payrolls. None of these other clowns on the Republican or Democrat side have ever met a payroll and created jobs. And if you're going to hire someone to run the largest economy in the world, these United States of America, you better hire someone that understands economics and job creation. And I don't mean job creation in the sense that we're going to transfer wealth from one person and create a phony federal job so people don't protest and the numbers go up, creating the illusion that employment is almost full at 5% when 100 million Americans are out of work. Trump claims he can actually create independent, corporate, non-corporate, small, medium, and large jobs. Well, the proof's in the pudding. Has he done it? Yeah. He was given a measly $1 million, which you may think that's a lot of money for a business, but trust me, in business, you can go through $1 million in a heartbeat and grown it to a multi-billion-dollar business. These other weenies, I see him doing nothing. Does that mean right now I fully support Trump? Well, no, not necessarily. I just like the fact that he's shaking everyone up. The entire system is shaking in their little boots because it appears that this guy is going to follow no plan but his own to make this country successful. So why would one, you have to analyze people. I mean, Cruz and Rubio and, we know Bushy from Florida, Jebby, He's probably doing it because he's bored. I mean, he's got all the money in the world, so he's kind of bored. He likes being king. Some people like being king. I want to be king. Why would Trump do this? He's got all the money he would ever need. He can go retire on any one of his beaches, any one of his houses he owns all over the world, and not have this. Because business people are driven by success. The entrepreneur, it's really never about the money. The money is the end result of doing something that's useful to everyone. But he's driven by success, by building things. Maybe it's a wall, building jobs. So I look at the motivation. What is he motivated by? Now, Best Shot is not about promoting one candidate over another, but we're analyzing some of these tweets at Hot News Talk Radio on Twitter, where you get a chance to look and decide whether or not you like a tweet, and you can respond to it instantly. You report, the world decides. Many of your tweets that even oppose what I say on Twitter, I'll post. I have no problem doing that. I love the free exchange of ideas. I love putting incorrect ideas out there on Twitter when you oppose me. No problem with that. And here's another one. Alert, Obama openly supported new Black Panthers on campaign website. You can check that out, because when I tweet something out, I research it and research it over again and research it again. So in many cases, you'll see or you'll hear from a news source that you've never heard from before. Then you may hear from the AP or Reuters or Drudge or some other source. It's not just regurgitating what Reuters or AP wants you to read, hear, and see every day. So you may want to check out that article on Twitter. Obama openly supported new Black Panthers on campaign website, which is a racist organization. And why aren't we screaming about that? You know, the KKK was created by Democrats after the war to prevent Southern independence, not Republicans. Democrats created that. Democrats support killing unborn children. Margaret Sanger hated blacks. And the purpose of abortion, in her mind, in her eyes, in her heart and soul, read her writings, was to kill black babies. That was the head of Planned Parenthood. Democrats, and it seems like the so-called black community embraces that. We couldn't make this stuff up. But the Northeast establishment, liberal, socialist, communist, fascist, Marxist media just want you propagandized. They are never, ever, ever going to tell you the truth. And it's right here. If you go to Twitter at Hot News Talk Radio, KKK was formed by Democrats during Reconstruction after war to prevent Southern independence. And if you don't like a particular tweet, I'm the guy that tweets it. This is Best Shot. Give me your best shot. Call in. Tell me what a jackass I am. Challenge anything I say. Anything. And this is what's interesting. I'll get a lot of hate mail and, we'll go back and forth. But not once will anyone come on the air with me to challenge these ideas. Even during the week, I'll hear people say, well, even some of our hosts, you can have a gun, but if you're going to carry it, you need permission from the state. No, you don't. Second Amendment is clear. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Shall not be infringed. It's not qualified. Every single gun law that was ever passed is illegal and unconstitutional. Now, I can have a debate with the NRA and talk about that, but you know what? They won't come on the air with me. And they haven't since 1994 because they're cowards. Because we'll discuss this issue, and then they're going to have to admit that the NRA is for gun control, that Wayne LaPierre in 2000 testified before the Senate and agreed to background checks. So if you belong to the NRA, you agree with background checks, and you agree with guns being regulated. You're a liberal. Now, there are other gun rights organizations that are truly gun rights organizations. Gun Owners of America, Second Amendment Foundation, Jews for the Preservation of Firearms. All good Second Amendment organizations that really fight to defend your right to keep and bear arms, not the NRA. But yet, no one wants to call and debate that issue. The issue of the monetary system, David was talking about it earlier today, where he wants everybody to pull out 100 Federal Reserve non-notes every Friday to, have fun with the system, collapse it, whatever, because 95 to 99% of all daily transactions are non-currency. And David said he's using modern nomenclature, modern language that, they're Federal Reserve notes, and they're not, because a note is a promise to pay money. The paper you carry around, it's not a dollar, it's not federal, it's not a note, it's not money, it's not legal, it's fraud. Now, anybody that wants to debate me on that issue, you can call at 800-8949, 423-800-8949, and show me where I'm wrong. Make me a fool, especially if you're an attorney. Make me look stupid. Show me where the currency we carry around in our pocket is lawful money. You can't. It's not a note because a note promises to pay money. It hasn't since 1968. You can't redeem it for gold and silver. A dollar isn't a thing. It's a weight. 371 and a quarter grains of fine silver at 99.9% fine. It's not federal. There's something called the Federal Reserve, which is privately owned, but it's not part of the federal government. That's why they called it the Federal Reserve, to create the illusion that Congress was creating money. It's not the reserve because there's nothing in reserve. There's nothing there. You've got these fancy bank buildings. Ooh, you open that door and they smell corporate. Oh, they got that corporate smell when you open it. That's not the coffee you're smelling. It's the corporation you're smelling. You smell that, David? Smell that corporation? David Tulis is here. David's on 9 to 11 with Nooganomics. And you have to check out Nooganomics.com. Nooganomics.com.
Well, Mike, I really appreciate your having me on your program today. But it's not the smell in the Federal Reserve main lobby is not a corporate smell. It is a government smell.
Is that what it is?
Courtrooms, court buildings, government buildings all have the same smell. It's kind of musty.
Yeah.
It's kind of old. There's there's an officious odor about it. It seems very deep, a little bit frightening. It's not a scent that our listener would take comfort in, because it's official. It's sort of unyielding. It's an unyielding old paper smell.
It is. It really is. This is Best Shot. So you can discuss this with David Tulis at 800-8949.
800-8949. Give Mike a call.
I'm
here for a minute.
David's on the air 9 to 11, and David preps more than anyone in the world with Nooganomics. You go to Nooganomics.com, which is a fantastic show. We wanted this show for you to give you the opportunity to talk back with our Twitter feeds throughout the week. If you're opposing them, David laughs at, I've tweeted over 6,000 times in a little over 2 years. And David, you were talking about the Federal Reserve. Now, I just want to tell you this,
David.
Your
output, Mike, is volcanic.
In the 70s, this is what got me in trouble. You can talk against the president, the Congress. Once you discuss the Federal Reserve banking system and currency, the system starts to shake. They don't want this talked about. They don't want this information revealed. But if you're looking on YouTube, look at YouTube. You'll see. Can I grab one? I promise I'll give it back.
Okay.
Since you're holding
grabbing
it up.
a $50 bill. It has a picture of General
50,
Grant engraved on the front.
It says 50 Federal Reserve note 50. Now, the average person will just put this in their pocket and spend it. But when you break down what this actually is, before June 24th, 1968, you could actually walk into a Federal Reserve bank
or any member bank
and redeem this or buy back your silver. And that's what gave this its value. You would bring 50 silver pieces into a bank. The bank would issue you a note, which is a promise to pay money. And it would say, pay to the bearer on demand. Look at the old currency.
Meaning the person who holds that piece of paper is the bearer. Okay, he has it on his person. And what does the person do? The bank, the person who wrote the words on the paper says, "I will give you the real thing in exchange for this paper if you want to have the real thing back." The cumbersome, burdensome, weighty trouble of 50 coins. That's almost a couple pounds, right?
Right. So they would give you back the 50 silver pieces, right. And because it said paid to the bearer on demand $50 in silver. So now you would turn in your receipt, get your $50 in silver back. You are now paid. The debt is extinguished. Well, what bankers realized some time ago, because banking started with blacksmiths, actually, several hundred years ago, where a blacksmith created an actual safe. And people would go to Joe and say, "Joe, can you keep my heavy silver here in the little town?" And Joe took 100 pieces of silver and issued a piece of paper paying to the bearer on demand 100 pieces of silver. And then Joe would go to the hardware store back then and give them 2 of them. Well, everyone knew they can go back and get their silver at Joe the blacksmith. Well, what happened is Joe the blacksmith realized only 10% ever came back to get their silver, and they used the paper. Joe started creating more paper than he had silver on supply and charged interest, and that was the start of banking. Banking was started as a criminal act. And in the 1800s, there would be a run on the banks for their gold and silver. There wouldn't be enough. The banks would collapse. And by 1913, they instituted the Federal Reserve Banking Act to stop the run on banks and issue phony currency And from 1913 on, these United States of America have been controlled not by the president, not by Congress, not by the Senate,
people,
but the Federal Reserve banking system and the bankers. We are owned lock, stock, and barrel by them. Your children, my children, and our grandchildren are pledged to them to the tune of $19 trillion, David.
Well, Mike, you're just depressing me when you talk like that. It's just depressing. And you make it sound so complicated that I just feel helpless and hopeless.
Why it's not depressing is because now you have the knowledge. And with the knowledge, you have power to change this. Because I guarantee you, the listener, have never heard this before unless you've listened to this radio station. And now you're empowered with this knowledge to know that the banking system is fraudulent in nature, and its primary purpose is to enslave you. When we come back, we're going to take your call at 800-8949. 800-8949.
Call. I'll talk to you.
This is Best Shot, where we want you to hit us with your best shot on any subject we talk about throughout the week on Twitter, on Facebook, and YouTube. Hot News Talk Radio at AM 1240, hotnewstalkradio.com, and you can check us out on YouTube and TuneIn Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
Expect a cloudy, foggy, and chilly start here Friday. A few areas of morning drizzle will give way to a drier afternoon. Highs creeping into the lower 50s. Tonight, decreasing clouds, a little colder overnight, lows lower 30s. The weekend, though, looking great. Lots of sunshine, warming up, too, with highs each day back into the 60s. This forecast is brought to you by Hamilton Medical Center in Dalton. Proud to be named #1 by CareChecks for medical excellence and overall hospital care in the Northwest Georgia and Chattanooga region. And I'm Swargene 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
Need more of your tax money back faster? EJPelton.com. Save time and money now. EJPelton.com. You wouldn't want to go to a dance by yourself, so why dance with the IRS alone? EJPelton.com. Get more of your money back faster now. EJPelton.com. For you and your business. EJ Pelton Tax Resolution and E-Filing Services. You earned it. Now keep more of your money. EJPelton.com. Offices in Brainerd and Soddy. EJPelton.com.
Yeah, I'm the tax man.
Severe Weather Awareness Week, the 28th through the 5th. P5 Preparedness has weather radios only $19.95. At P5 Preparedness, weather radios are only $19.95 for a limited time only and a limited quantity. You need to get there now. Weather radios, $19.95.
P5 Preparedness on East Brainerd between Gun Barrel and I-75. Look for the Green Army truck, 423-602-2175. Look for us on Facebook.
On your signature, you can get $150,000. Can you believe that? $150,000 on your signature. Hi, I'm Bruce Krebs with the Entrepreneur Source. There's a program right now that you can get $150,000 on your signature with no pledge of collateral or personal guarantee. Call me at 423-875-5621 to learn more. 423-875-5621. You've been thinking about starting a business? Don't do it on your own. I have a proven track record for the last 13 years, a 96% success rate. I can guide you into a franchise where you will pay yourself through the startup phase with very low or little risk. Call me now. I'm Bruce Krebs at 423-875-5621. And make sure to listen to the Entrepreneur Hour every other Wednesday from 11 to 12 o'clock. Call me now, 875-5621.
Here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's got third. He's going for second. Earnhardt going for the lead.
The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is on the Motor Racing Network.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Hear it live on the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Check it out live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Hot News Talk 1240. You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. Hot News Talk 1240.
AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. A photoshopped image which appears to depict a high school student with a gun inside school has been causing a stir with the Middle Valley High School. It was determined that the image was not authentic and the person in the photo holding the gun was not involved in the photoshopping of the image. The SRO at the school says that the person responsible was found and has been disciplined, although it does not appear that charges have been pressed. And at East Hamilton Middle and High School, a young man was arrested after police say he had throwing knives in his possession inside of his bag. He was taken into custody by the school SRO and taken to the Hamilton County Juvenile Detention Facility. He's been charged with possession of a dangerous weapon on school grounds. The Dalton police say that a body was found inside of a motel by cleaning staff. No foul play is suspected at this time. Detectives are processing the scene as they do with all unattended deaths. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
And welcome back to Hit Me With Your Best Shot. This is Best Shot, where you have the chance, if you so choose. We normally don't ask for callers or take callers unless you want to, but we don't heavily give out the number. To hit us with your best shot on issues we had brought up over the past week that David Tulis, who's on 9 to 11, or one of our other local or national hosts at 800-8949. It's 423-800-8949. You don't have to dial the 423 if you're in the local area. 800-8949. I want you to go to some of our tweets, and I do get some nasty responses and comments on our tweets. Matter of fact, my other half has, she's on Facebook all the time. I hate Facebook. I'm never on it. But she was mentioning how, I guess one of the other hosts in this area was on it, and he made some stupid comment, and I got on there, and we went back and forth, and I'm like, why am I wasting my time on this? Why am I wasting my time on this? So I stopped wasting my time on Facebook because really, you could spend an entire day going back and forth with a bunch of morons. I know what it was. I think one of her relatives said whoever voted for Trump is an idiot and called him a racist and this and that. And that's the tactics of the left. They don't like you. They just label you, oh, you're a racist. You're a racist. They have nothing to back it, but oh, you're a racist. So here's another one of our tweets that you may have liked. One of the 6,000s that I've tweeted, and if you don't like it, you can call and let me know. Someone please put this jackass loser rhino in an old folks home. And that I was talking about McCain. And I lost it right here, so let me bring it back. All right. Who's next?
McCain,
Bush?
Romney. Who's next? Bush Sr., CFR crowd. All right, what's CFR?
CFR is the Council on Foreign Relations. They're unelected, and they control a lot of the direction of our foreign policy. And
of their foreign policy.
Of their foreign policy. McCain is a member. Romney, Bush Sr. Bush is a one-worldist. He was former CIA. Bush did not like Reagan. Reagan did not like Bush. Now, at the very end, after they silenced Reagan by shooting him and gave him a warning shot and said, if you continue to do what you do, Ronnie, this one is going to be in the heart. So, and Ronald Reagan was virtually useless after that. But Bush and Reagan didn't like each other because Bush is a one-worldist. He believes in that New World Order concept. And also believing that America should lead in international socialism. So Bush is no conservative, and Bush Sr. is no conservative. Loving sports with Colin Cowherd. So a lot of our tweets will be, self-serving, self-promoting. But on Best Shot, you get to give us your best shot if you don't like something that we've talked about on Twitter or on the radio. Here is every airline that wants to fly to Cuba. So Hot News Talk Radio on Twitter, you can get informed. And there, I'm giving you every single airline that intends to fly to Cuba. Just a little tidbit there. Fed grants immunity to Clinton staffer, an email investigation. This is a biggie because it's purported that the head of the FBI is an honorable man and is going to take no guff, that the chips will fall where they may. We'll see how politics intervene here. But right now, it's assumed there is a grand jury that's been convened, especially since a Clinton staffer has been given immunity on how the email was set up, who was given access to that email, and these private emails. Hillary can no longer sit back and go,
Wait, what do you mean? It was wiped? You mean like wipe it with a rag? Is that what you're talking about? Wipe it clean with a rag?
A handkerchief, I think.
Whatever. She's just condescending. She just thinks everyone is her little slave. The Clintons have gotten away for 40 years with God. 40 years. It was suspected that they murdered people in Arkansas. We know what Bill Clinton has been about, but they continue. And I can only assume David Tulis from the David Tulis Show, 9 to 11, Nooganomics.com. They have to have something on somebody, or they have to have something. I mean, maybe they got pictures of, I don't know, Bush on it with a donkey. Who knows? But how in the world? You and I would not be in prison. We'd be under the prison. They have broken so many laws. And why isn't it that the national media doesn't say impeached former President Bill Clinton? If it were a Republican, they would use the word impeached. Bill Clinton was impeached. Why doesn't the media ever say that? You know that, Mr. Tulis, do you not?
Go on, I'm listening.
Did your newspaper, Rag, not carry that? By the way, I had the opportunity to pick up the Times Free Press. Yeah, come on. Seriously. People really read the newspaper? I don't picture anybody under 60 reading the newspaper. What's the demographics on newspaper? Like 90 plus?
It's an older crowd.
Oh, man.
It's a graying
Oh,
group.
come on. Mexico, you will pay for the wall. If it were me in charge, this is me tweeting it. If you look at over the 6,000 tweets, I write all the headlines. And if you don't like them, you can call me now. Call me an idiot.
Call 800-8949, 800-8949 to talk to Mike and me, his co-host for this moment, David Tulis.
Mexico, you will pay for the wall. If I were in charge, at gunpoint, the Mexican president would be slinging cement. I have said this since the 1970s, that if I were president, I wouldn't build the wall. The Mexicans would build the wall, and they would pay for it, and I'd go one step further. El Presidente would get a call. My first act would be to stand on the podium and go, guess what, El Presidente? You have 24 hours to submit a plan to build this wall. You're going to pay for it, and on top of that, you're going to pay for all of your citizens coming to my country, using my resources, using my medical facilities, using our social infrastructure. We're going to bill you, and you're going to make payments. And if you don't, we're going to send in the 101st. We're going to take your assets first. We're going to take your palace first, and then we're going to empty your bank account. You don't have a military. And then I go to Congress and say, you need to declare war, you gutless little weenies. And if you don't declare war, we elect politicians that will. Other than that, you're nothing but a poor boy. You want something just walking in your house? You want to come home and find 4 people in your house eating your food? What are you doing here? Well, you have more food than you need. Can't we move into your house? No. Oh, we just can't watch your TV? No. Can we take your medicine? No. We've put up with this for no other country tolerates this crap. And then we're worried about terrorists coming over. This is our house. We have a country. We have defined borders.
Mike,
we have
You're making
laws.
to say that a country is like a house. A country is one thing. A nation is another. A nation state is the third. Nation states such as the United States, which is a corporation.
We're not a corporation.
Yes. Well, the United States.
We are not a corporation.
Mike,
That's the biggest. Go ahead.
Let me hear this. What you're asking,
even talk show hosts disagree.
Our listener to do, Mike, is to take up the grievance of the federal government, which pretends to have authority over all the states, and it does have international jurisdiction. But you're wanting the federal government to tyrannize all the states at the point of their borders, to have a totalitarian, total surveillance system there. But you might want there to be freedom, liberty for our listener here in Tennessee. You want there to be freedom in Tennessee.
Okay, first of all, the United States of America is not a corporation. It is a country defined by
national government.
It is a country defined by rules under Article 1, Section 8 that are specifically granted to the federal government. Article 1, Section
Very
10
limited authority.
that are specifically denied. And under the federal Constitution, I'm looking here, preamble. We, the people of the United States, in order to form perfect union, to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, ordain and establish the Constitution for the United States of America. So the people established this document for the United States of America.
The entity in the District of
Part of what that federal government is to do is to take care of our borders, and it's in the Constitution where there is a process
to control the borders.
It absolutely does.
No authority in the Constitution.
It absolutely does.
Government to control the borders. It has a very limited authority to control naturalization, and that's it.
And that part of naturalization is controlling the borders.
No,
you can't have naturalization without controlling the borders.
Yes,
you can't.
Yes,
there is no process of naturalization without controlling the borders.
So what you're urging our listener to do, Mike, our free market, libertarian-oriented listener, our conservative listener, what you're wanting him to do is to create a tyranny. You want to establish a greater power than the government actually has in the Constitution, create a tyranny at the border, and stop the free movement of good, hardworking people into our country. who want to come here because they want the freedom that you say our listener has.
I'm gonna show, because David's a libertarian. I'm gonna show you.
I'm a Christian first.
I'm gonna show you where you're absolutely incorrect, as Russell is.
Well, make sure this connects to the tweeting.
I'm going to show you where you're absolutely incorrect. Taking your argument to its logical conclusion, and we're going to do that. We're going to take, because
that a nation is not a house.
That anyone can just walk in, no borders, nothing. Now I'm the Chinese. Hold on a minute. Let me
go ahead.
Complete my thought. I'll let you respond. I'm the national Chinese, and I have 100 aircraft carriers, and I'm going to load all of my troops on the aircraft carriers, not in uniform, civilian garb. And I'm going to unload them at every harbor.
It's San Diego.
And I'm going to do this, not only that, all over the East Coast and the West Coast. And I'm going to unload them all to come in. Every day, 100 a day. Every day.
How about 10,000 a day?
How long? No, I mean 100 ships a day.
Okay.
How long do you think it would be before those Chinese would overrun and take this country from you and me?
They have no interest to do that.
They absolutely do. Our natural resources.
Theoretical, threatening.
Look at our longitude and latitude. No. We produce more food than we can consume. So we feed the rest of the world. Look at our longitude and latitude for growing food. And that's one of the reasons why we're so prosperous. They would love to have our fertile land. They would love it. They would love to have our natural resources. No country would ever be formed with the idea that anyone just come in. Hey, listen. Back in the 17 and 1800s, David, it wasn't that way. It wasn't that way.
Mike, you are mistaken.
And you know it wasn't that way.
There were no border controls until 1921. There was free access into the country of anyone who wanted to come in from Mexico. Texas defied the federal government longer than any other state on the western border, and it was finally crushed, I think, under Eisenhower, where it had to conform to the federal diktats regarding the border. There was open people. It was an open border. People came from Mexico daily. They crossed every day, in and out every day with no control. No control.
I'm going to concede that on the West Coast, because really there was nothing there. I mean, who cared that they crossed? There was nothing there. They couldn't get government benefits. There was nothing but more land and more cows.
Mike, you're being
but on the East Coast, no.
Benefits.
But on the East,
Mexicans to get welfare benefits.
On the East Coast, where we were a formed nation, you didn't get off of Ellis Island unless you had a sponsor. My family came over here in 1854, and they were sponsored. You had to have a sponsor. You had to make sure that you provided a service. In my case, my family were builders. My great-grandfathers, they worked on the railroad. They built homes. You had to have a value to this nation before you were allowed in, and that's the way it should be.
Well,
not just willy-nilly crossing borders. Of course. A value to the economy. Other than that, what do we have? We have mayhem. And that's what we have today, David. We have mayhem. Let me ask you this.
Is the socialistic
show me
system,
one
that
right.
is what you are trying to protect this system. You're fearful that
not about a
should
system.
be there to support Americans on the dole. You resent the fact that Mexicans, Guatemalans, and Hondurans are finding their way to follow
Canadians.
I don't want the dole too.
I don't want Canadians here.
We are here defending the dole. That's
I don't want anyone in this country that isn't an American crossing that line illegally. Period.
Well,
I don't care who they are. I don't care where they're from. You show me in any one of the founders' writings to support your idea, because I haven't been able to find it.
They believed in a free market and
the
free movement of labor.
Show me. By next Friday, I want you to have that. But I'm going to challenge you. By next Friday, you show me one writing of any founder that supports that idea.
Well, there's a letter from General Washington quoted in an essay that's part of a book that has not been published. A lengthy quote, and I will. In fact, it's on my floor in my office at home that I will bring that to you as part of a book that defends the free market in labor, Mike. Now, what else do you have on your ferocious Twitter?
Okay,
Let's change the subject.
Wait a second, and you're calling it free market and labor. It's not free market and labor. It's controlled capitalism. It's corporate communism. And that's one of the reasons why, in case you're wondering, why is the right so obsessed with hating Trump? Why is the right so obsessed with protecting illegal aliens, and that's what they are, invading our country, breaking the borders, breaking our laws? And the left so obsessed with them doing the same thing. Because on the right, corporate communists, the big international corporate capitalists, get free labor or very cheap labor from third world countries. And on the left, the only way anyone's going to vote for them is if they have nothing and they vote for an individual to steal something to give to them. Because government can't give you anything. It must steal from one to give to another. So, of course, the Democrats are going to love that, because Democrats are all about stealing from one and giving to another. Hi, you're on the air. This is Best Shot.
Okay. I am for the wall. I do want a wall put up to keep these illegals out. I don't think it's fair that these illegals can come over here, get food stamps, public housing. They get paid cash. Most of the illegals that work get paid cash, where us Americans have to prove, we're working, we have to draw checks to get food stamps and this and that. So I don't want them over here. Simply the fact that most illegals get everything handed to them by the government, and they send a lot of their money that they make in cash back to Mexico or wherever to their family. So I don't want them over here because we as Americans are struggling to live, and we have to draw a paycheck and we have to turn our taxes in, this and that. Mexicans don't have to do that. So I am all for putting the wall up, keeping these illegals out. Now, if they want to come over and be an American citizen and live legally, I'm for that.
Okay, before we respond to that, I forgot to do this. All right.
Well, it sounds like the caller's grievance, Mike, is against the welfare system, not against Mexicans per se. But it's easier for her to say, well, we need to keep the illegal Mexicans and Guatemalans out, and somehow you're building a ring around the welfare system, which you don't want to be abused and sapped by yet another horde of people who, as they learn the American way, will apply for benefits.
Well, why do you think they're coming here? I mean, there are. Listen, I'll admit to you, and I've seen it directly, that individuals from third world countries, which I've experienced them working in a manner I've never seen Americans work. Hardest working people I've ever seen, and I'm going to say in general, will do jobs that Americans don't want to do, and I give them all of that. But I have no problem with anyone coming to this country if you want to be a producer, but do it legally. We have laws. We have those rules. Follow them. Come into the country legally. Work legally. You can't just violate our laws, which are valid, and expect to be treated with respect.
Violating an immigration law is not a sin. It's not an inherent wrong.
It's illegal.
It is a paperwork offense. It is a wrong.
It is illegal.
Male prohibitas, which is to say wrong by prohibition, not inherently evil or wrong. Murder is a male in se. It's evil in itself. And being here without proper papers is not a sin. God is not offended by it. It is a wrong by paper. It's a wrong by prohibition. Someone said you can't be here unless you have the proper papers. You, the man who wants to work in this freer economy in North America, so you have to. We're going to round you up, put you in a cell until we can deport you.
Welcome to Best Shot. This gives you the opportunity on Fridays from 11 to 12 to call 800-8949.
800-8949 for David Tulis and Confederate Mike here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
Give us your best shot. If you don't like what we've done throughout the week and you want to express your views, you don't even have to engage in a conversation. Call up, make a statement. Hang up, and get it off your chest. It's good to do that. You can go to our Twitter site, and I've tweeted over 6,000 times in 2.5 years. Some of it's self-serving. We'll be talking about the radio station. Other things, it's what we're about, which is you report, the world decides. We want you to be the reporter. When you report to us what you've seen, either by video, audio, or email, we will transmit that by video, audio, or email. Many times you'll respond to my Twitter and I will right away retweet what you said, even though you're opposing me 180 degrees.
They're bashing you on the head.
Bashing me on the head. I have no problem with that, because without the free exchange of ideas, nothing gets settled peacefully. One of my tweets is, what matters more is who counts the votes. Trump supporters in Texas see votes switch to Rubio. We've seen this in other elections, and I think that's a quote from Mao. It's not who you vote for, it's who count the votes. And I've seen it in Philadelphia with voter fraud. So it's not just a matter of voting for the right person, but ensuring the vote counter is doing it honestly.
Well, we do appreciate your giving us a few minutes of your time. We're at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. I'm David Tulis and Confederate Mike. We are both sort of ferocious people defending the marketplace, and we have had discussion about immigration and laws. my position is that that many of these laws that are on the books are not sins. It's not wrong to violate them. And in fact, some of these immigrants here have a duty to violate them. If their family is going to be profited by being here, by working hard and saving five families, sharing a house, buying a mortgage, paying it off in 5 years, getting out of debt. Many Hispanics, Mike, are exemplary in their use of sharing economy, supporting each other, having amicable familial relations, looking out for each other, being on time, working hard. Our Hispanic workers are, according to interviews I've had with business people, harder working than the average American. High school graduates are learning everything wrong in their factory schools. They're not working hard. They're not taught moral character, and so they're not as easily relied upon as strangers who really want to make good here in this country.
Check out our Twitter site, Hot News Talk Radio Twitter, and throughout the week you'll see our tweets. If you object to any, you can call us on Friday with Best Shot at 800-8949. I'm Confederate Mike with David Tulis.
Tell us about Bloom Sky, Mike. Tell us about Bloom Sky.
9 to 11. And check out Nooganomics.com. Bloom Sky, I think you're going to love this. We're the only weather station on Bloom Sky in Chattanooga. So if you don't have the app, download the app called Bloom Sky. It's really cool because not only do you get to see an almost live feed of weather stations around the world, but then at the end of the day, time-lapsed video of that. So it's really cool. And for us, David, we're looking for chemtrails. We're looking for other weird atmospheric activities.
David is nodding.
And I'm thinking maybe, hey, a UFO or two, which I've never seen, but I love to. By the way, Apple versus the FBI. Inside the battle, Snowden calls it the most important tech case in the decade. Now, if you're following us on Twitter, you can actually see that. We do a lot of this work for you. That's why Twitter is so important with Hot News Talk Radio. David does a lot of the work for you with researching hours a day. Russell does a lot of the work for you with binary, normally 11 to 12 in this hour, because we know you're busy. So it's our job to do all this work, to get through all the minutia and tweet to you what we think is important to you. And you can check this out on YouTube. It's a great video with Apple versus the FBI. And I can tell you this, David, my other half and I have debated this issue where I think the FBI should have absolutely no access to my Apple phone and that information. Where my other half goes, well, what about safety issues? If someone's kidnapped, so on and so forth. And these are all valid concerns and debates.
Kidnapping is a crime that hardly ever occurs, Mike, and that's because the FBI has a nearly 100% record of solving kidnapping cases and rescuing the party taken. It's almost impossible to succeed in kidnapping. That's a crime that doesn't happen anymore, effectively.
Well, I worry that they're going to be on not only fishing expeditions with being able to get into phones, but on top of that, now what about hackers? If there is a back door to the phone, a hacker is going to find that back door. And they're going to be able to corrupt your phone or get your private personal information. You see all the private personal information that's on these phones, bank account numbers, social security numbers, insurance information. People have their lives on their phones. It's no different than having access to your files at your house, where an individual can just come in and in the middle of the night, grab your files. But he'd have to do it one at a time. It would be a long process. Well, if the FBI wants to have access to those files, they have to make darn sure that there's a search warrant in place, that it's a proper warrant, and they're specifically looking for a little item. The problem is when someone gets into your phone, whether it be a local, federal, or regional cop, they're looking at everything, not something individual and specific. So yes, that warrant may be tailored to something individual and specific, but guess what? When they find out that other information on your phone that they may not like for political reasons, now they've sniffed your underwear, and now they're investigating other things that have been on your phone independently from that, which will then eventually lead to a prosecution.
And while they can't get a warrant for those other things, what they do is it's called it's a process. It's called construction or something like artificial construction, where they find other ways of proving the things that they've seen by hint on your device. So they can justify before a judge, say, well, we have proofs and they get by reconstruction.
Yeah, I call it sniffing your underwear. That's what they do. In other words, it's the plain view rule. You know, we come in to search a certain thing and there's marijuana laying out. So, hey, listen, thanks for joining us, David. Thank you.
Appreciate y'all coming.
You can check out David Tulis and myself next Friday at this time, and David Tulis at 9 o'clock on the David Tulis Show on Monday. I want you to have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you.
Check out our Twitter site. and Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.